Let me close the time thing.
The time thing.
Whoa! You can't just throw that out. What are you talking about? What's this time thing?
It's the time thing.
Sweet little time thing.
You know what? Maybe this should just be the last episode.
Daniel and I doing this kind of thing is what gave birth to Dolphin Blood Beer, as well as that great Pearl Jam riff we did. That, if I'm not mistaken, involved a lyric that went something along the lines of "whale sperm, it's a tasty little treat."
You preceded all that by saying the great things that came.
This is Epic Battle Cry Skirmish 207! Give us your money, the game!
Hello and welcome to Epic Battle Cry. This is the place where we cut through the crap to bring you the real deal in the gaming industry today. I'm your deaf host, Tony Grice, and with me, as always, is Brent Adams and Daniel Kaiser. Brent, how you doing this week, man?
What's up, my droppers of disaster? My fumblers of fury? How art thou?
Is this a reference to the New York Giants and Dallas Cowboys game, or just what is this?
I'm going to get into it. First off, I wanted to just acknowledge that there was a little bit of a Falcon cry going on at the top of the show there.
That was great.
I want to reiterate that is not coming back every episode.
It does feel there have been people that said, look, it feels empty there now. And
it feels empty
there now. There is something
I get that. So like I said, I'm not going to do it every episode, but for those people who asked about it in the past week, I just wanted to give you a little something since we had a week off, and I thought you deserved a treat. And I'm out of whale sperm, so little treat for you here at the top of the show. As for droppers and fumblers, you got to know what I'm talking about there, because we're going to be talking about some people dropping release dates, some people dropping prices,
and Microsoft fumbling through their Xbox One law.
Yeah, I mean, what else could it be but that? And we all know that I don't watch NFL with great frequency.
Yeah.
College football, another story, but anyway.
They still have a team at Florida?
It didn't look that way this past week, but you know.
Well, we could thank them for the Gatorade and move on.
Yes. As a matter of fact, that was going to be the title of Douglas Adams' follow-up to The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Thank them for the Gatorade and move on. But,
okay. He abandoned it.
Speaking of moving on, let's go ahead and say hi to Daniel Kaiser. Daniel, how you doing this week, man?
I'm doing great, TG in 3D. Of course, as Brent mentioned, we were dark last week, so I hit the lights and turned on the air at the layer and decided I would give the old U.S. Open a try. I've been working on my my backswing and foreswing, so I thought maybe I would try
forehand, maybe?
I would.
It's great that you moved to a city where that kind of thing is legal now, because it's so restrictive here in the South. And
yes, so I thought that I would give this a go. I wanted to try out for the U.S. Open, and it ended up not working out very well because apparently I suck at tennis.
It's surprising because you're used to balls coming at your face all the time.
I was also going to say your hair.
My hair.
I mean, like when I think about tennis, I think about men with some serious hair.
Right?
People like
That's
McEnroe.
what I was thinking. I mean, even if I can't play well, I could play the part. I mean, but you'd be surprised at how hard it is to get into those skimpy little outfits.
No, I wouldn't.
But it didn't work out.
You're not supposed to wear the skirts. You do know that, right?
I might need to reconsider next year. But anyway.
All right, so we got stuff to say other than this crap, so let's go ahead and run through the gauntlet. All right, guys, we're here in the gauntlet, and we've got a lot of stories, kind of come up in this last week or two. We've been out of the game. A couple of the newest bits of info we've got, though, are the story around just how expensive it is to make Grand Theft Auto 5.
In a word, a lot.
Yes, yeah.
Which is coming like in a couple of days.
I know, it's going to be here in no time.
Yeah. So, Brent, you want to run down, like, where's this story coming from? Like, how did we hear about this?
This story comes by way of The Scotsman. And a report from The Scotsman lets us know, or has led us to believe, that Grand Theft Auto 5 has a pretty sizable budget for a video game. $265 million is what's being reported, which is which is exactly, what you'd spend in, maybe your run-of-the-mill summer blockbuster kind of thing. 265, 300 million.
That's even an upper blockbuster.
Yeah, that's upper.
Kinda,
I mean, that's like a fucking Superman or a Star Trek or something like that, That's a big budget Hollywood film. And apparently, if that's true, if that number is accurate, then that would just about make Grand Theft Auto 5 the most expensive video game ever made. One of the other notables mentioned from this article is Star Wars: The Old Republic, which reportedly cost $200 million. The difference, of course, is that this one's going to sell.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is going to make some money.
So that's definitely going to be a good thing. But what do you guys think? Oh, and just to put this in perspective, they've got 2.5 million pre-orders for GTA 5 right now.
Yeah.
The game is expected to sell 25 million copies in its first year of release, which is $1.6 billion US. So
that's a good investment.
Yes, it's going to. It cost a lot of money, but they're likely going to make it back pretty quickly. So what do you guys think about this? Is the amount of money that we're talking about here, is it shocking? Is it surprising? Is it to be expected? Can the industry support this kind of behemoth? Should they be looking to spend less? Should we actually be trying to spend more money on this game ourselves? Should we be offering to give them more money so that they can recoup costs faster and therefore get to work on the next Grand Theft Auto even quicker? What do you think?
Well, I mean, obviously, if these numbers hold true and they're on track to, make 1.25. What the hell? Let's see, 1.25 billion.
I mean, almost 8 times the budget.
Yeah, so I mean, they're on track to make a shit ton of money off of this, so we don't need to give them any more money. But I was a little bit surprised that it cost this much. But this is big business these days. I think this kind of correlates a little bit to our conversation last week about the length of games. Just because a game has a huge, gigantic budget like this doesn't mean that it's going to be good, or that a game that has a budget that pales in comparison to this is going to be bad. I don't think you just automatically equate the two things. But this Grand Theft Auto over the years has become a very finely cultivated franchise that Rockstar knows what they're doing with. I've been a little surprised at the lack of advertising I've seen here with just a few days to go before launch. But the truth of the matter is they don't need to waste a ton of money on that. They'll advertise where they need to. I've seen some commercials and things like that. The commercials have actually been a little bit tame compared to what is expected from the game, but they know what they're doing marketing wise. They know what they're doing development wise. The verdict is still out on whether or not the game lives up to all the expectations. We'll find that out as reviews start to hit and we play it ourselves. But to answer your question, a little surprised that it had this high of a budget, but that's as we entered the next generation as well. I mean, I wonder what the GTA 6 is going to be on next gen hardware, but with those profit margins, you can guarantee that Rockstar is going to keep this type of formula in place.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what you just said, because that's the thing. If they can make this kind of money off of putting this much money into it and make this much back, I mean, absolutely that they're going to keep doing it. They'll keep getting bigger and bigger. I do think, though, that there's only arguably a handful of franchises out there that can pull this kind of thing off.
I agree.
It's not that just any, fucking game can go out there and spend this kind of money and expect to recoup that.
Sure.
To be honest, just like I think... we kind of use that correlation to blockbuster summer movies. I mean, there's some movies that put that kind of money in, and in most cases eventually make it back. But some make it. The whole point is how quickly do you make it back? Do you make it back? In the first couple weeks? Do you make it back? Before it gets to your DVD or Blu-ray sales or whatever.
Yeah.
And when does that happen? And they're obviously gonna do fine. I don't have any doubt of that. I do kind of wonder though that where was the money spent on this? To me, it would be a little interesting because, I mean...
Mostly in Bangkok is what I mean, that's what I'm hearing. I
mean, you think about, the voice talent and stuff like that. It's not like they got, some, AAA named people or something in there. You can say, there's where, 10 million went right there in one pop. Or, and I mean, I'm not saying that, the game doesn't look like it is deserving of the money to put into it. It is a little interesting to me. I actually thought a big chunk of it might have been in advertising, because there haven't been a lot, like you said, Daniel, but it's not, it seems like it is still pretty pervasive. I've seen it in enough places. It's not I see it, like a Call of Duty where you can't, the month running up to it, you can't turn a TV on without seeing a commercial for it. But I do see something advertising it somewhere, whether it be online or on YouTube or on, which
That's
is
true.
also online. Just want to clear that up. And on, like, but you know what I mean? Like, so it's, I don't know. I thought actually a big chunk of it could be
maybe they're just being a little
advertising,
bit more focused as opposed to the kind of the shotgun marketing of like a Call of Duty. Maybe they're being a little bit more focused. But
guys, I'm sorry. I just got an article sent to me here. That story's not true, so we shouldn't have talked. All right, so next up, we got a little bit of story about what you will get if you pre-order Clay Entertainment's new game Incognita. DK, can we even talk about this, or is it under wraps?
No, it's this information is something that we have accessed, and we have through our espionage skills managed to extract from the gang at Clay.
And by espionage skills, we need Firefox.
Yes, and also they issued a press release, so that helped. But basically, this is what's going on. We talked about Incognita, the upcoming turn-based tactical espionage game coming from the gang at Clay, and they, as we covered recently, they did like the first demonstration of it online via a live stream. The game looked really cool, and they said they would have more news on the beta. Guess what? They do. Here it is. You can pre-order the game now and get early alpha access to the game right now, which means you could pre-order it and play it as soon as your little computer can download it. The pricing comes in at $16.99 on the game, which is a 15% saving off of its regular $20 price tag. If you want to spend the $20, there's a bundle available to get the game and the soundtrack when it becomes available in 2014. Now, Clay has clarified that the early alpha access is early, and it is alpha.
And it is alpha.
So you should expect.
Wow.
You should expect that the game is, basically something to mess around with. It's not, they're still working on the game engine, the UI. What you're going to get is the opportunity to mess around in a single randomly generated level with a few agents that are there and very little character progression, which is obviously going to be a big part of the end game. Basically, you're beta testing the game, but I personally think it's kind of a cool incentive to pre-order the game. We're talking about a $20 game here, an opportunity to get in, check it out, give some feedback, and also, just see it and experience it. This is something that they talked about. Their strategy as a smaller company is to get as much fan feedback as possible. I did an interview with Jamie Chang on the GameTrailers blog about this kind of business model, and this is working out well for them. They did it with Don't Starve, and they're looking to do the next level of it here with Incognita. So what do you guys think about being able to pre-order the game, get instant access to the early alpha beta, if you will, early alpha access to the game itself? And do you think that this is something that will inspire more people to pick up the end product in when it goes live in 2014, or just kind of attracting the hardcore of the hardcore who already know that they want to pick up Clay's latest?
All right, let me ask you guys a question, because it sounds an awful lot to me like I have a choice between going and buying Incognita in this pre-alpha state, pre-ordering it, getting access so I can start playing right now, this second, or I can keep recording a podcast with you.
Yeah, and that's going to do it for this week's episode, gang.
And I'm out. So I agree with you, Daniel, and I can remember you making a statement on this show years ago about pretty soon we're going to be paying for beta access, and we're paying for beta access. But that's I don't know at the time if you said that with any kind of judgment on it, like whether that was a good or a bad thing or anything of that nature. But it is interesting to see how developers are engaging their community by giving people who are really interested in the game the opportunity to get in on the ground floor, to save a little bit of money, to take part in the actual process of building the game, through their feedback, through getting the community involved and finding out what they think about the gameplay, what they think about the various systems the game will employ. All of that stuff, in theory, could be used to make better and better games as you're essentially playtesting with larger and larger audiences, and not just playtesting in sort of a closed space, but really kind of playtesting in the real world under real conditions with real gamers and so on and so forth. I find that all very, very interesting. Incognita, I know that you and I, Daniel, are both extremely interested in this game. I've been very, very into everything that Clay has done thus far. I find them to be a really, really creative developer that really is just they seem to know exactly the kind of developer they want to be and the kind of games that they want to make, and they just keep putting things out that I really enjoy playing. So I'm going to pre-order this. I'll probably get the more expensive version, the one for $20 that comes with the soundtrack, because I tend to really dig that stuff. I listen to a lot of game soundtracks, or have been recently. But anyway, I think it's a really kind of interesting trend, and I've done this with a couple of games. Mercenary Kings, I paid for early access to that, which is a really cool side-scrolling multiplayer shooter on the PC. I don't know. I really kind of find this I find that this phenomena, as we've seen it develop, to be very interesting, and thus far I found it to be pretty enjoyable.
Have you taken advantage of any of the like because I get like the soundtrack and features like that, I think are awesome things. Like those are awesome cool benefits to getting in, on early kind of access like this.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, though. I'm not big on like the alpha or beta kind of testing of a game so much, though. Like, it's not to say that I've never participated in one. Matter of fact, I've tried out a few here or there, but it's just, I don't know. Like, to me, it seems like it does take a little bit away from the experience of like waiting for a game to come out, getting it, sitting down that night, and experiencing it as a whole.
Sure.
Sitting down and enjoying it as kind of like a wholly finished experience. Not to say that like I don't, if you want to do that I just don't, hey, you're an idiot. I'm not saying that at all. I don't know. I kind of have mixed feelings about this. I do love the idea though of them caring about wanting feedback from their users, but you
just wonder, like, are you really gonna have a satisfying play experience if you don't play the game in its fully finished, polished form versus kind of seeing how the sausage is being made?
Well, kind of that, but also
I can see that, sure.
Yeah, just I don't know. There's something about just like we've talked about before about like the advertising and all of the kind of like hearing and seeing every stupid fucking feature from every game, a year in advance of it coming out. We get that little
kind of getting fatigued by it.
Yeah,
by the time
and
the game
I feel like it makes the end product just slightly less special because some of those moments that would have been just amazing to experience by themselves, you've kind of gotten warmed up to over time, and I don't know.
I can totally see that, and the thing that I would say is I think it does kind of depend on. It depends on the game, maybe the kind of game and like what you're looking to get into it. Like, I would not be as interested in doing like a pre-early access alpha to Grand Theft Auto 5,
right?
Because I do want to experience everything in that game.
Yeah.
In its like finished state. And I want to kind of have those, those really interesting moments with the story and the gameplay.
Yeah.
But something like this
where it's
is such a different experience.
More about the
it's more about a gameplay experience.
Well,
I don't find myself really kind of fearing that specific thing.
Well, and also just to throw in my 2 cents on that thought, it's more of the, hey, you're looking to Rockstar to deliver something great and on a grand scale, a $250 million scale to you, okay? And with a smaller studio like Clay, it's almost like you have an opportunity to participate in the development of the project with them and be a part of something bigger than yourself. So totally different experiences, although I completely see it's things that we have spoken about, being oversaturated with content and media leading up to a game's launch and having to kind of go on media blackout. This takes it to a whole new level because you're actually playing the game. But the sense that I get is what they're looking for. They're looking for people in the community to be a part of the development of this game, to help make the game that not only they envision, but something that would be, what ultimately all of their biggest followers would feel great about a final release. And hopefully they could manage to toe that line to still surprise their end users with a great game, even if they did participate in the pre-alpha, alpha, whatever stages of the game's development. So it's a very interesting facet of the industry that doesn't exist in any other medium, as far as I know. So I like to see it, especially on the scale with developers like this.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's definitely something that's not going away anytime soon. So I think we can expect to see more and more of it.
Yeah.
Something else we can expect to see more and more of is Kickstarters, because things like Mighty Number 9 have come out and pretty much just set the world on fire and proven that sometimes the big companies don't really know what they're customers might want. So, Brent, how far has Mighty Number 9 gotten? And we haven't even really talked about it that much. Since we were gone. So, you want to tell us a little bit about what it is?
It's been out for over a week at this point on Kickstarter. As of right now, the day we're recording this, they are sitting at $1.9 million out of a 900,000 goal.
Yeah.
They have set in place several stretch goals, and we'll talk about all that. But for those of you who may not be aware, Mighty Number 9 is a game that is looking to be funded, and it comes from Concept. This is Mighty Number 9 is Keiji Inafune's spiritual successor, I guess, to Mega Man. And if you look at the some of the screenshots or some of the concept art and things like that, you will see a lot of
you'd be fooled into thinking it's an exact copy of Mega Man.
But anyway, it's a really, really cool looking game, and it is, at this point, going to be headed to the PC, Mac, and Linux. If they reach 2.2 million, then they're going to see a release on PS3, Xbox 360, and Wii U. And then if they are able to get to 3.3 million, they're going to do a release on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One as well, which would be good considering that the game's release date, or at least right now, they're expecting it in 2015. So, or is that a typo? Is it 14 or 15? Anyway,
I think it's 14. I think that could be a typo. But
so I think that it's 14 as well. But anyway, so the point is that by the time the game comes out, we're going to be well into the next console cycle. So it would make a lot of sense to have it on there. And if people are as excited about it over the next 2 weeks as they have been over the last one, then we could very well see that funding goal hit. But anyway, there's a couple of interesting facets to the story. I mean, obviously, the Kickstarter thing continues to be a major influence in gaming and continues to be an avenue that both developers and gamers are using in order to fund these projects that might not otherwise have a home. This one is very interesting in the fact that it comes from somebody so high profile as Inafune, and that it is a property that is so obviously inspired by Mega Man, which in and of itself is a real cornerstone of platforming and classic gaming. So this project is a really kind of interesting mix of just, I don't know, like to me, it's almost sort of like a best of breed kind of thing, as opposed to like some Kickstarters where you're like, well, I mean, I don't really know who these people are, but this game idea sounds kind of interesting, but they haven't really done a lot with it so far, so I don't know exactly what to expect, but I like the idea enough that maybe here's some money. Yeah. Here you're talking about where I think you almost know exactly, what you're going to get, or at least you have like a really clear concept of what they're going to try to execute. You know who the developer is. You know what the goal is going to be. So I think that this one is a really interesting kind of milestone in that whole Kickstarter gaming thing.
I mean, I agree, but not necessarily just playing devil's advocate, but also on the contrast of that.
By all means.
I mean, we talked about this before, and my big issue with Kickstarter is when very well-known people come in with very well-known IPs, or in this case, a mirror image of one, and basically just use Kickstarter as a platform to, I mean, more power to them. Hey, whatever. It's great. But it's kind of a no-brainer. Like you're saying, that this is going to get funded. They set a goal for it, and it, doubles it, maybe triples it, whatever. And we've seen this with, Richard Garriott and other stuff. The thing that I don't want to use the word, irks me or whatever, but just kind of stands out to me is the fact that, these guys and these IPs have been established. They've been there. They've had an opportunity. They can make games almost at their own will. I look at something like Kickstarter as a place of opportunity, and there's a lot of things that do get funded that come from small studios. I guess it's the aspect of Kickstarter that is about being an entrepreneur or being, and not to say that this project isn't exploring new avenues and doing different things, but it's almost like easy money. And for me, Kickstarter, or the idea of Kickstarter, is fueled more by the passion that comes from people who have an entrepreneurial spirit, who have not yet achieved something in this realm and are looking to do that while bypassing the typical barriers to entry that have existed in the past. And a platform like Kickstarter provides them with that. So when you see somebody who has access beyond those barriers kind of just jump in and be like, yeah, we're going to make something very similar to Mega Man, and here's $2 million. It's cool. It's cool. But for me, what really lights my fire is seeing smaller companies be like, hey, we've got a great idea. The big boys aren't going to listen to us. Will you listen to us? And then they deliver on that and they achieve their goals. For me, that's a little more inspiring. Not that this is a bad thing, but I look to those things more.
I could definitely see where you're coming from. And you know, I am about the most Kickstarter skeptical person there's out there. You know, I've always made a big deal about it. I still kind of stand behind a lot of it because we still have yet to see the final fruition of some of the largest Kickstarters that have come about. You know, I mean, like some of the ones with like Tim Schafer and whatnot. Like those are still, you know, and I'm not saying that they're not doing it. I'm just saying, you know, they have not. We haven't got the final product yet in some of those cases. So I still have a little bit of kind of apprehension about, you know, Kickstarter as a whole, especially with a lot of stories kind of coming out about, you know, there are people taking advantage of it and doing weird things, you know, to kind of go around the rules. But anyway, I got to be honest, I do actually think this is one of those that is kind of interesting to me in the sense that you say that these guys have kind of, you know, this is a done deal. I kind of think that this was not necessarily a done deal. Like when Keiji Inafune first kind of announced this, one, you know, Mega Man has been all but relegated to just starring as a, you know, bonus character in like, you know, fighting games and, you know, things like that. Like, you know, they've done a few little things here and there, but in most cases they were very small efforts on behalf of Capcom. And, you know, nobody was really getting, I think, in the case of like Mighty Number 9, that console high quality experience that they were really maybe wanting from the series. And you know, this is one of those times where I don't think Capcom was just not doing it because they just didn't want to do it. Like, fuck Mega Man, I'm not making that game. Like, I think they were basically
they just didn't know how to do anything else with
that. Well, I think they actually put probably feelers out there, and they're like, well, what are people looking for? And I don't think they got the numbers back that showed them that it was going to be a good idea for them to do, at least on the scale that they wanted to do. Now, that's where I think Kickstarter is kind of an equalizer, where it's like, you know, look, maybe you just didn't talk to the right people. You know, here is our audience, because we can reach our audience. All these games, you know, there's probably a lot of Kickstarters, a lot of people that, you know, like to do Kickstarters that are ubiquitous. Like they fund all different kinds of stuff. Like honestly, I think Brent's probably a pretty good example. I think he likes the concept, and so he probably supports more things than even I would if I saw the same amount of things that I liked. You know what I mean? Just because I think he's more into that idea.
Sure.
But I think that there's a ton of people like me, which is, you know, I didn't bother funding anything in Kickstarter until I saw that one thing that I thought, look, I really like that, and there's no way it's going to get done unless people like myself get involved.
Right.
And I think that's something like why Mighty Number 9 has kind of come out there, where it's like all of these people that like that old school gameplay, you know, want to support this, and so they, you know, got out there in droves and have supported it. Where I really do, I think, you know, Capcom, I don't think that they just sat there and said, like, we could have made that game and made tons of money with it. We're just not gonna. Yeah. I just don't think that they didn't get the right numbers back to them that made them think that it was possible. The only thing, though, this is kind of a question to put to two of you. How is he getting away with this?
I know, it's like a total rip.
I gotta be honest with you.
I mean, I thought it was Mega Man. Like, I thought it was just another Mega Man game.
No, I mean, but let's, like, instead of having, like, the little hard hat, you know, guys, they've got, like, the fucking cones instead of, like, those guys. I mean, like, every element of Mega Man is reproduced in some sort of slightly different way. Yeah. And I don't know. Like, I'm really surprised that there's not more has been said about, like, the fact that, by the way, there's no way we're going to sue the shit out of you if you try to make that game. Or like, why don't you just sell us that idea and we'll be done.
Isn't that kind of like John Fogerty getting sued as a solo artist for sounding too much like Creedence Clearwater Revival? I mean,
I think it's a little different, don't you? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, to me, you know, I think that, you know, Inafune was really, you know, the creative, you know, artist, you know, behind a lot of those things that you're talking about with Mega Man. And so it's like, I mean, obviously you can't blame him for sort of doing what's in his nature as an artist or as a game creator, at all, to do those things. Now, whether or not there's going to be, some legal thing, that'll be interesting. Yeah. But again, I mean, it's sort of like how much minutia are we going to kind of, dive into? Is like, okay, so any game that has a character that hides under an object and then pops up at some point and you see eyes and it begins to move towards you and then it drops back down, Capcom's got that tied up.
I think it's the combination of everything. Like, I would agree. Yeah. I think if you just tried to look at any one thing, I would agree. It'd be almost impossible to say, yeah, that's true. But if you look at the whole and kind of go like, okay, here's a guy who's part robot, part boy or whatever. He's blue in color. He jumps and shoots. He has these little guys that come at him. He has bosses. Everything about it is
everything about it. Yeah.
Everything about it.
I don't deny any of that, but
the first letter of both games is M. I think.
Okay. Well,
made.
Forget
case
everything.
Made. Let's go to Syria. Come on,
the characters and stuff. I'm interested to
the
see
boss fights. It is. From a game mechanics standpoint, and from a lot of the aesthetics, it is a Mega Man game. We all agree. He's just not calling it Mega Man.
And I'm okay with that. I just am surprised.
I'm totally okay.
I'm okay with it too, but that is one of the reasons why it kind of feels a little like, cheap to me to be. He's capitalizing on the success of a franchise that this is not quote unquote associated with. It has nothing to do with. It's its own individual IP. But I think everyone who has looked at this has said the words Mega Man, because at some point in conversation, because it is just so reminiscent of what that is. And I agree with you, Brent, that we shouldn't limit his creativity. This is what he does and this is what he does well. But also there are legalities and business issues. And if he did rely on Capcom at some point in his career to manufacture a product and get it out there, then part ownership of that might belong to them. And that might be part of the intellectual property that he might now be crossing over into. So I don't know. It'll be interesting, but good luck to them. And it opens a wider conversation.
Yeah, I hope they make
Kickstarter,
it.
But yeah, I hope they make it.
Well, got $2 million already promised.
I'd like to see
I
them
hope
make
they're
it
able to pull out the $3 million. So we get the
I do too. Yeah, I want it on PlayStation 4.
I do too.
Yep.
All right, well, so last but not least, there's been quite the furor over the outfits for some of the characters from the new Metal Gear Solid 5 game, most specifically the character of Quiet. And I kind of find it interesting that the internet's been relatively quiet on this story for a few months, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's like, sort of cropped up again. But there's a little bit of talk about why her outfit is so...
skimpy.
Not so much there. Yeah, yes. DK, what's the story?
Talk about a solid snake. It looks like Hideo Kojima took to Twitter to...
So never mind. We just answered why they're doing it. Okay, we can move on.
We sure did. And there's really nothing else that needs to be said about this story.
Famous Metal Gear creator Hideo Kojima took to Twitter recently to just talk about his interactions with the art director on the upcoming Metal Gear Solid 5, Yoji Shinkawa, and talking about how he was directing him in a way pertaining to the character that you mentioned, Quiet, the female sniper that is featured in the game, and how he wanted to make the character more erotic.
A slut. I'm sorry.
Almost to the point where she might not be cosplayable. And this stemmed from thinking about the character and saying, in his own words, that the initial target was to make fans of the game want to do cosplay of the character Quiet, but also to maybe
and then
buy...
he totally changed his mind.
Hideo Kojima's just a horny old man. So
basically.
This is...
Or to buy the figurine. Right. So definitely making a character that was sexy and something that would go beyond just what is going to be in the game was a goal. Saying that he's given a lot of thought to the depth of the character, how she spent her early life, her style, her favorite phrases, fashion, things like that. And so trying to develop this character when talking to Yoji, but ultimately it comes down to ass in a miniskirt and or thong or whatever this thing is. But at the end of the day, it did kind of bring to light a lot about character development in the world of video games and ulterior motives beyond just making a great character that would be within the game and in the context of the game's story. So it turns out that this character Quiet is generating a lot of noise both on the internet and ultimately in the end game, of course, with Metal Gear Solid 5. So what do you guys make of all this? Is this the right way to approach character development? I think obviously we'd be silly to suggest that Hideo Kojima is the first person to ever do this. I I think this permeates throughout not only video games, but character development in a lot of mediums. What do you guys think about this? And should there be any repercussions? Or should the character continue to be developed in this manner, fishnet stockings and all?
I think that if Hideo Kojima believes that a girl in fishnet stockings and a thong is uncosplayable, he is clearly going to different conventions than I am.
Yeah.
Number two, I do think that
I think you should be quiet, Brent, at the Comic-Con next year.
I think that there's a lot of people who would agree with the statement, Brent, you should be quiet, and then just end it there.
And that's it. Yes. And you should never cosplay anything, I think is also
It's the only way we'd ever get Brent to be quiet.
Both of these statements would probably garner a lot of money on Kickstarter if you were to try to monetize them.
Holy shit. How have we not done this yet?
How have we not seen this before? Pay Brent to shut up. It's the new Kickstarter from Epic Battle Axe, and we're looking for a lot of money from you people. But it's going to go to a good cause, which is me not talking.
Yes.
But until that happens, I will say that I guess I'm a little confused in a way because... To me, like the idea that Kojima is like saying all this, it's as if he's saying like, "Hey, I invented this great idea. It's sex sells."
Right.
And I don't know, like just his like the way that he's kind of approaching this and saying like, "Oh, like I want to do this whole thing. She's going to be very erotic, and she's going to be in a video game and all this." I'm like, yeah, it's just like I never expected Hideo Kojima to follow the pack so much, and that's the thing. Like I
to broadcast it on Twitter.
Well, yeah, like the fact that he's kind of, I mean, like I said, is like he's putting this out there as just like, oh, I invented this great idea of putting hot girls in video games, and I don't know, like I'm just kind of scratching my head and like because the one thing that I will say about Kojima. Sometimes for good, sometimes for ill, is that he really does seem to, be marching to the beat of his own drum. He really does seem to be a guy of his own vision or whatever. And I don't know, like I'm really kind of confused as to how he comes to this, and I'm supposed to interpret it as like some sort of great artistic choice.
Are we sure he's not still walking to the beat of his own drum? I mean, this is the thing. The game hasn't come out yet, and I really do think that Kojima in general, I mean, there's always been a sexual tension in his games. I mean,
sure.
They do. That's the one thing. I actually think his games have always been, well, I'm sorry, I was going to say fucking weird. But yeah, like in most cases, like he comes at them from a slightly more mature than the average game, especially in some of the earlier games.
I agree.
Of his career. But he's always kind of come at it with like, male and female characters have had kind of a tension there that, that exists in real life, but didn't necessarily always exist in video games. I'm not necessarily sure that there's not also more to this. I mean, what if like he kind of is hinted at times that there is more to the reason that she is the way she is, and that what has happened to her in her, he
wants to sell
the
action
storyline
figures.
of the
That's
story.
The reason.
I mean, so I don't know that, this, and he's also very, very famous for like throwing you off the track. I mean,
That's
like the
true.
whole Phantom Pain and all that sort of stuff. like, I think it would actually be, I think it's way too early to kind of decide whether this was just pure and simple for just sexualizing the character. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's definitely part of the character, but I'm not so sure that it wasn't done for a somewhat legitimate reason in terms of storytelling. There could be something to it.
Sure.
Hell, what it could end up to be a man. Like it could be like a fucking sex change thing, or it could be a fucking
Chuck.
Well, yeah. I mean, you think about characters like Poison in the like in Final Fight and Street Fighter franchises. It's like one of the most famous like characters of that's an overly sexualized female character that is transgendered. It is a man who has had a sex change. Like it's like there's characters that I think sometimes are
and then played tennis later on, which is weird.
Slightly deeper than you might think just on the surface. So I think it's way too early to talk about this.
Yeah.
Although I am gonna go into the bathroom with a All right, guys. Well, we are here in the main topic this week, and of course, with all the stuff that's happened over these last couple of weeks, we got a lot of little tidbits of information. As I say tidbits, some of them are actually kind of things we've been waiting for quite some time, and some stuff that I don't think we expected at all. The first one, the big one, is probably that we finally got a release date for the Xbox One. There was a lot of talk that it might be coming out on November 8th, possibly before the PlayStation 4, but it has been officially announced that we will be getting it on November 22nd.
Breaking news here on Epic Battle Cry.
Yes. So,
after missing a week,
you guys should go pre-order it.
Yeah. If you could.
So what do you guys think? I mean, is that, we kind of talked about like what that would mean to one company or another. Do you think that's had any effect?
Well, I think we'll run down this announcement along with all the PlayStation and Wii stuff in an effort to kind of set the stage for, what the hardware holiday buying season will be like. But to answer your question about the Xbox One specifically, I'm not surprised that was the date of the original, of the Xbox 360. I did think,
it was pretty much the date of the first Xbox and the One.
So, it falls right in line with that, obviously. But it was an opportunity for them to actually do something and precede the PlayStation 4's November 15th launch here in North America. It comes out a week before the PlayStation 4 in Europe, so it does have that advantage there. It makes sense, and with these consoles shipping so close, I don't think the first week is going to make that much of a difference, as we've clarified, but it is what it is, and I think they got more work to do than just worry about the launch date, so we'll see. But, it is nice to know finally, a random press release on like a Wednesday morning last week of just like, oh, here, this is when it's coming out. So that's good to know.
Yeah, the thing, I agree, as we've said, if it came out on the 8th or November 22nd, I don't think it would really make a big difference one way or the other. PlayStation is going to be first in North America. Xbox will be first in Europe. Whatever. Ultimately, I don't think that all of that is going to necessarily amount to too much. The thing that I do kind of wonder about, though, is just I guess I just wonder about the logic of just waiting this long to release it, and did releasing it, just recently, did that in any way play to their,
it's just staying in the
their
news
strengths?
cycle, I think that's all it is.
Was there any kind of advantage to doing it now versus doing it back at E3 or when they first announced the console in that special press event?
I think they literally just
thing.
needed to find out logistically when they were going to be able to deliver it,
Yeah, maybe it was one of those things where they needed to get to this point before they felt comfortable with the amount of, like the manufacturing run,
they also announced
stuff
at the same time that, they bumped up, the processor spec.
That's right.
So I think Daniel's probably right. I think a lot of things literally didn't get finalized till just now, and as it being the Xbox One, they probably still aren't finalized. So,
yeah, this is true.
All right, so next up, we actually had quite a bit of information just the other day out of Sony, with a couple of things kind of, to me, very sort of odd. The first off is that the PlayStation 4 will not be launching in Japan until next year.
That one is really strange.
Yeah, February of next year, which, that's actually, sometimes that's been when we've gotten, like, for instance, I remember the PSP was that way. Like, we got it, and the Vita we got, like, a few months later. But Japan
it was almost
like
exactly the same. It, wasn't it like the PSP was like, or maybe it was the Vita, it was like November in Japan, February in the States.
It's March, yeah. It was the early edition was in February. But yeah, I don't know. Do you guys think that that's going to be, maybe a knock? Do we know, did the One announce they're going to be in Japan at the same date as in the States? Because that would actually be kind of interesting. That actually might be, I don't know.
I don't think that it would have any effect. If you actually look at the number of Xboxes that have sold in Japan, it's...
You can keep them in your
back.
We're not talking a week difference. We're talking a couple months. If they let's say they did release over there, that could actually be. And I think they've garnered more sales as time has gone on. Has gotten significantly better. So
the guy in Japan who has the cart that sells feces flavored chewing gum has sold more packs of that than Microsoft has sold of 360s in Japan.
Yeah.
If it were any other territory, other than Japan, I'd agree that that could be like a major opportunity for Microsoft, but no.
Well, and I'm curious Sony, a Japanese company, releasing their hardware in Japan that far after. And the reason, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
The reason stated is really interesting. They say that they want to have a stronger lineup of Japanese titles of Japanese titles for the Japanese market, and I agree that that's a good idea and everything, but it does seem a bit excessive. Even if it were just a month, Europe's getting it 2 weeks after we are. If you're saying Japan's going to get it 2 weeks after that, I think we would all say, well, wow, that seems kind of counterintuitive that it's coming to Japan a month after it's coming to everywhere else. But this is like 3 months after it's coming everywhere else. It is really, really strange.
A lot of people pointed out, though, that Japan doesn't necessarily have the same sort of connection to like the holiday season that we think of here in the States.
Sure.
And so that, in a roundabout way, like we think that's going into the big holiday sales time. It's not necessarily the case over there. So maybe in a way it's not as big a deal. I don't know. It's interesting, but I think maybe more interesting was the announcement of 2 different PlayStation Vita kind of incorporated things. They've come out with a new model of the Vita, just dropping the OLED screen and going to an LCD screen, and along with being just slightly less weight, slightly thinner.
Yeah, like 15% lighter, or 15% thinner, 20% lighter.
But maybe more importantly, because that's a neat little change, but nothing too drastic there. But the PS Vita TV adapter is a little PS Vita that you hook up to your TV that you can play PSP, Vita, and PS4 games streaming over the internet, which is what I didn't see at first. Like at first I thought, well, that's at home. You're going to be able to play your PS4 games like on your Vita while you're walking around your house. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Sony has released a commercial in Japan showing people out and about getting on Wi-Fi, connecting to their PS4s over the internet,
and playing
not at their house,
the Vita.
Playing their system. Now that to me, that could be huge.
That could be
that could be a big deal.
Yeah,
there's a lot of things going on there. What do you think, DK?
I think this could be a much bigger announcement. I think we're still trying to wrap our brains around exactly what this is, but the potential for it is pretty huge. And to be honest, Sony's catalog is looking more and more impressive when you think about having that Sony type of experience with the PS4, the PS Vita, which is becoming, let's be honest, more and more desirable as the price goes down and the software becomes more abundant and the cross-play functionality and little things like this come into play. I find myself actually thinking more and more about the Vita in terms of how it fits my lifestyle, and also just the software that's going to be available for it. But this Vita TV thing, I think, is very compelling because what it does is provides adaptability to changing situations and changing either entertainment experiences or just whatever it is that you want. I mean, I can see instantaneously uses for that, whether it's something as simple as, hey, my kids want to watch something here, my wife and kids want to watch that, I'm going to go to this other TV and continue my game, or go upstairs. I've been playing down here on the couch for a while, I'm going to go upstairs and do that upstairs as I go to bed. There's so many options, especially what you're saying now with the internet connectivity of it, allowing me to maybe go down the street and do it at my friend's house to show them the quality of what we're doing. But the PS4 functionality, we should clarify, is going to be something that is released as a downloadable patch after this device launches, and they're looking at about like $100 price tag for this in Japan. So the Sony suite of things, the reason why I have a lot of Apple components in my home is because they connect together, they do different things together, provide different experiences that make it more convenient, and this is something that they're doing with this PS Vita and Vita TV. So I'm very intrigued to see how it pans out.
I think that I'm really of two minds about this. As just a piece of tech or a piece of kit, and just a feature set, I think that the PS Vita TV is fantastic. I think it's really great. When I think about it as sort of like a marketing initiative, or how it kind of fits in with some of the other things, I do scratch my head a little about it and wonder. Like specifically, one of the things I wonder about is this going to ultimately devalue the PlayStation Vita? Like would this discourage people from getting into a platform that that is already that already struggles to a certain degree? Now, I understand that we're talking about like this huge value add with the ability to play games on the go and everything, but that's going to require some kind of mobile data plan. That's going to require like a really fast connection, and there's some other issues with it as far as like just being able to play Vita games or PSP games on this this PS Vita TV through your TV. I do kind of wonder a little bit if they're not maybe drawing people away from the Vita that are specifically interested in it for Vita games or portable games. And then the other thing that I wonder is this, and I just want to go specifically to like the PlayStation 4 functions of it now. Number one, being able to, using this to be able to play your PlayStation 4 on another TV in your own house. So, like say your family or somebody is watching TV on the monitor that the PlayStation 4 is hooked up to. You could hook this thing up in another room, play your PlayStation 4 that way. That's a super, super cool feature. And then obviously, being able to play on the go and everything is a pretty cool thing too. The thing that I wonder about, though, is anybody going to look at this as a negative because that functionality is in some way, like the ability to play on the Vita out and about is not included in the PlayStation 4 already. Is anybody going to look at this and say, well, that just makes the PlayStation 4 as expensive as the Xbox One, and you got to buy another thing to have this added functionality? Is anybody going to look at that as a negative to saying oh, well, that should have been in the PS4 to begin with?
Well, and yeah, I do see what you're saying to some of those points. I think some of them, they've not given us all the details around it. So I think some of that functionality is built in, and some of it's not. So the one thing, though, and this is one thing we didn't touch on, is, the price point's $100.
Yeah.
To be brutally honest with you, I think for $100, $150 if you want to get the one that comes with the controller, I think that it's a huge value add to the PS Vita as a whole, because then you get people that are like, hey, there's a $100 box that's in a lot of people's homes now, because I think it will probably be, for that price point, a good seller that does all the stuff that a Roku box or Netflix, anything you can watch like Apple TV or something, and it plays some pretty awesome games, taking the PS4 even out of it. You've got Vita games and PSP and all the back PS2 library.
It's a
that you
fascinating
can then,
little game console kind of thing.
Yeah, and that you can then take and go run with your portable system. But anyway, I know we're running a little long this week, so we're going to kind of carry it over to the stories of Nintendo, because we got the big three this week, all giving some pretty interesting. We heard about 2 weeks ago, we heard about that the Wii U is getting a price drop that's going to be starting next month. And they also dropped the price on a couple of their biggest titles on the Wii specifically, not the Wii U. But the biggest maybe announcement is of some new hardware in the form of the 2DS.
Which is one less than the 3DS.
One less.
Interesting.
For those who are paying attention.
So DK, what do you think about all this coming out of Nintendo? Is this showing that they're making some good smart decisions, or are they scared?
I think they're making tactical decisions heading into the holiday season. It's happening this month in September that you'll be able to pick up the Wii U for $249. The $299. There's going to be bundles. With the Wonderful 101, we saw the Wind Waker HD bundle, which I might be interested in. I don't have a Wii U yet, but that is something that might be under the Christmas tree for the kids if they're lucky enough and don't screw up between now and then. For me, I think they're being strategic. I think we've all said it's needed a price drop. I recall distinctly, Nintendo saying there will not be a price drop on the Wii U. We've targeted where we need to be with this, and then boom, here it is. When Iwata said that, I think they still had some months to go to decide whether it is not necessary. To answer whether or not they're being scared, I think they've just realized that it's necessary at this point to drop the price point of that. As far as the 2DS, I wish it closed, because honestly, I think it's kind of a really good alternative if you just want to play those games. And for me personally, having I mentioned this on a couple of forums. I mean, I know you could turn the 3D off on the 3DS, but if I could get a cheaper 3DS that didn't even have 3D, I would probably do that for my kids, because I guess visually it's not good for eye development for them to be playing 3D games at the ages of 7 and stuff like that. So I thought it was a smart idea, but I don't think they followed all the way through and thought about the fact that it should close and be portable the way it is. But anyway, I think that they're making some strategic moves here, and pricing. They dropped the price on some of their biggest games for the Wii as well. So they're gearing up, but I don't know that it'll be enough to circumvent the onslaught of consumer feedback.
It was too late. I mean,
Yeah.
don't you think that this was the problem? Is they should have had this price drop. It really probably should have come out at this price point. Let's be honest with you. And I, the thing with the 2DS is I do think that there is something to be said for. I kind of the whole it doesn't fold thing really threw me off too. But I think as an inexpensive alternative especially for kids or yourself. That they've got, that it's going to be built a little bit more sturdy. The feeling is that it's going to be more like the old school Game Boys and before the SP, the Game Boy Advance that folded up. It's just going to be kind of it'll be out, but there's, you don't have to be as as careful with it because I think it's going to be built a little bit more sturdily. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's actually not a bad announcement.
Stand some teething and some drool and
yeah. All right. So really quick, around the horn, one word answer. The three of us go around the horn. Wii U, PlayStation 4, Xbox One. You could only buy one this holiday season. Brent, which one you picking up?
I already bought a PlayStation 4, so I guess I'm getting that one.
Okay, TG.
In fairness, I've bought both the 4 and the 1, and have a Wii U. So but if I can only have one of the three, it'd be the 4. That's the one I'm the most excited about.
Yeah, and I have to agree. I think I think I'm prepared to go with the PS4 over the Xbox One this holiday. Last console generation, I had the Xbox One first and waited a while on the PS4, and I think it might be reversed this year. But no matter what it ends up being,
Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, keep talking.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Anyway, the bottom line is it's going to be an interesting holiday season for hardware purchases for sure. I can't wait to see the numbers come November.
All right, guys. Well, we are here near the end of this week's Skirmish, but first we have our Battle Cries of the week, and my Battle Cry is going to go out to a little story that came out this past week that there's a game developer from People Can Fly, the guys that are behind the game Bulletstorm's probably the most recent one that we can think of, and he was kind of saying how there's a pretty significant difference in just overall performance between the PS4 and the Xbox One to the PS4's benefit. Like the PS4 is basically, in some cases, up to 50% more powerful, which is what, there's been back and forth. Some people said it is, some people said it's not, some people said it doesn't matter. That's the last one I want to talk a little bit about, whereas it's kind of funny. The guys from Microsoft really quickly came out and said like, hey, it's not that much of a difference in performance, but just to be honest with you, performance doesn't matter. It's about the games. Oh, well, if performance doesn't matter, then why don't we talk about that for a while then? Why are you so quickly changing it to another subject? If it doesn't matter, let's talk about performance. I think it's just kind of interesting that Larry Herb is always kind of one of those guys that comes out and tries to do the old Obama thing, which is change the subject before you actually find out about what you're really wanting to talk about.
And as we've seen, it's a very effective strategy.
It's a very effective thing. It's worked for both of them over the years. So
it's hilarious.
But anyway, thought that was kind of interesting. I don't think that it is 50% more powerful, but I do think as a whole it will be a little bit higher performance. And one thing I'm kind of looking forward to is seeing multi-platform games on the two of them here in a couple months. All right, so Brent, what's your battle cry this week?
My battle cry this week goes out to a Kickstarter campaign yet again.
What?
This one is for a little title called River City Ransom Underground. Okay. And if that sounds an awful lot like River City Ransom, it's because it is. This is
actually is.
That's right. This is an officially licensed follow-up to the old NES game River City Ransom. The people behind this is Conatus Creative. I'm not sure how it's pronounced.
Some say Conatus, some say Conatus. It's okay.
That's true, but what we can all agree is that they aren't Canadian, except they are. And
good
this
people.
Is they've got the rights to make this game this follow-up to River City Ransom, which of course is one of the best beat-em-ups of all time.
Of course.
And it's a really, really fantastic looking game. I'm so down with I love River City Ransom. That was a fantastic game. I used to play that all the time on the NES. This game I think could be really, really awesome. So anyway, I just want to raise a little awareness for them. If you go over to the Kickstarter page, you can check out what they've got so far. Really, really some cool looking stuff. They're trying to raise $180,000. They just launched this week. They've raised $23,000 and change right now. This is in Canadian dollars, obviously, as I said. And anyway, I just want to point this out to everybody. I'm gonna be dropping some change on this project because, as I said, I'm a huge fan of the original, and I'd love to see a modern sequel to it. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So anyway, just go check it out if you got time, and drop a little cash if you like.
Can I just announce my Kickstarter for a new Super Mario Brothers side-scrolling game? Can you just do that now? You can just make a game.
Yeah. Just say you want to do it and get funded.
Well, they acquired the rights to it. Now, if you acquire the rights to a Mario game, then I will back your project, sir.
Ooh. It's a me.
Hey, so DK, you want to give us your battle cry?
My battle cry this week, TG in 3D, goes out to Ubisoft, and more specifically Ubisoft Montreal, who dropped the knowledge of Child of Light, which is a upcoming game that's a turn-based combat game that's inspired by classic JRPGs, and it's heading to both PlayStation consoles, both Microsoft consoles, the Wii U and PC in 2014. This kind of snuck under the radar a little bit this week, amidst big announcements, big trailers for games like Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto and all this stuff. But this game looks frigging beautiful, and I want people to check it out. It basically puts the people into the shoes of Aurora, who's this child stolen from her home, and on a quest to return, she must bring back the sun, the moon, the stars, held captive by the mysterious Queen of the Night, and she's helped along by her little firefly friend, Igniculus, I believe is how it's pronounced, and a host of other people she'll meet along the way. What's really engaging about this game is its art style. Very intriguing the way the trailer sets up the combat, which is being likened to the Final Fantasy series with the active time battle system. So you choose to participate in the battles. You have basically the JRPG turn-based style active time battle system that is implemented, but the game looks fantastic. I can't wait to learn more about this. So I definitely wanted to put Child of Light onto people's radar. Check out the trailer and do some research on it. Hopefully we'll find out more about it soon.
And everyone prepare to hear about this game for the next 6 months.
That's right. It's right there with Brothers. I like games.
I'm just kidding with you, mate. All right, so Brent, I think you have our member battle cry this week. You want to give it to us?
Yes, the member battle cry this week comes from Starbound, who says,
I
agree with Tony that the beauty of video games is that we have so much to choose from. This is a terrible battle cry already. A game can be as long or as short as we want, depending on what the game will allow us to do. Pricing
length doesn't matter.
Pricing is an entirely different matter, as it is possible for a game that can cost you $5 to feel like a much more worthwhile experience than, say, a $60 game. God knows that's true. The greatest thing we have is control over what we play and how we choose to play it. Smart, to the point, and I think thoroughly correct in those observations. Well done, Starbound.
Is very well done. Well put
very
together.
good call, and totally agree with you.
Except for the part where you talked about agreeing with Tony. Why did you have to go and fuck it all up?
That's like pulling an Obama.
No, there is no point in which we agree on pretty much anything. All right, so that is going to do it for this week's Skirmish. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us this week, and please join us once again next week when we won't be taking vacation and we'll be cleaving through the fat of the gaming stories of the day.
Brent took a vacation.
DK,
you and I didn't take a vacation.
That's right.
For DK, for Brent, I'm your host, Tony Grice. Remember, cry havoc, and let's start a Kickstarter for, just give me money. Let's just be honest about it. Can you
give me money the game?
Give me money the game. I want $2 million for me. And
at least you'd be honest. At least you'd be honest about it. I could respect that.
If you're upfront about it like that, could they even come back at you later? Be like, no, hey, look, I said it was just for me to buy blow and hookers. So
blow and hookers the game. We'll film it. Actually, we should raise money for a reality series called Blow and Hookers.
Okay, number one, your mic's messed up, and number two, that is a great idea.